Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, A Tale of Rebellion and Revelation. Chapter 17, The Lion and the Serpent. As November arrived, bringing with it a chill in the air, and the promise of the first Quidditch match of the season, the atmosphere at Hogwarts grew increasingly tense. The Secret Defense Group, which they had begun calling Dumbledore's Army, or DA for short, continued to meet in the Room of Requirement, making impressive progress. However, Umbridge's influence over the school was growing. She had been named Hogwarts High Inquisitor and was now regularly inspecting classes, much to the dismay of both students and teachers. On the morning of the Gryffindor vs. Slytherin Quidditch match, Harry awoke to find the dormitory buzzing with excitement. As he made his way down to breakfast with Ron, who was looking particularly pale and nervous, they were met with a cacophony of cheers and jeers from their fellow students. "Weasley is our king," sang the Slytherins, their voices echoing through the great hall. Ron's face turned an even paler shade as he heard the mocking lyrics. "Ignore them," Harry muttered, guiding his friend to the Gryffindor table. "They're just trying to get in your head." As they ate breakfast, Hermione joined them, her face etched with concern. "You both need to eat something," she insisted, pushing plates of toast towards them. Despite the nerves, Harry felt a surge of excitement. As they made their way to the changing rooms, Quidditch was one of the few things that still felt normal. In the increasingly strange atmosphere of the school, the match was intense from the start. The Slytherin team had clearly practiced their strategy of targeting Ron, and their supporters continued their chorus of "Weasley is our king" throughout the game. Despite this, Harry remained focused, his eyes scanning for the elusive golden snitch. In a heart-stopping moment, Harry spotted the snitch at the same time as Draco Malfoy, the Slytherin Seeker. They both dove, racing neck and neck towards the tiny golden ball. With a burst of speed, Harry stretched out his hand and felt his fingers close around the cool metal of the snitch. The stadium erupted in cheers as Gryffindor supporters flooded the pitch. However, the celebration was short-lived. As Harry landed, he saw Malfoy's sneering face. "Saved Weasley's neck, haven't you?" Malfoy taunted. "I've never seen a worse keeper." But then he was born in a bin. Harry felt his temper rising, but managed to hold back, turning away from Malfoy. However, the Slytherin's next words made him freeze. "Or perhaps," said Malfoy, leering as he backed away, "you can remember what your mother's house stank like, Potter, and Weasley's pigsty reminds you of it." Harry wasn't conscious of releasing George, nor of leaping off his broom. All he knew was that a second later both of them were sprinting towards Malfoy. He had completely forgotten that all the teachers were watching. All he wanted to do was cause Malfoy as much pain as possible. Just as Harry's fist made contact with Malfoy's stomach, he heard a shrill voice cry, "Impedimenta." He was knocked over backward. Getting up, he saw Madame Hooch standing between them, her wand outstretched. George was sporting a swollen lip, and Fred was still being forcibly restrained by the three chasers. Malfoy was curled up on the ground, whimpering and moaning. "What do you think you're doing?" screamed Madame Hooch. Before Harry could respond, he heard a sickeningly sweet voice behind him. "I think this calls for more than just detention," said Dolores Umbridge, who had appeared on the pitch, her toad-like face alight with malicious glee. "I believe a more permanent punishment is in order." Harry's heart sank as he realized the implications of his actions. The match may have been won, but he feared he had just lost something far more important. "Certainly, I'll continue the story." Chapter 18, Dumbledore's Army. The aftermath of the Quidditch match was severe. Professor Umbridge, wielding her newfound power as High Inquisitor, had banned Harry, Fred, and George from playing Quidditch for life. Their brooms were confiscated, and the Gryffindor team was left in disarray. Despite this setback, or perhaps because of it, attendance at the DA meetings increased. Students from various houses, determined to learn practical defense skills, gathered in the room of requirement with renewed vigor. One evening, as Harry supervised a particularly successful stunning spell practice, he noticed Neville's remarkable improvement. "Excellent work, Neville!" Harry called out, genuinely impressed. Neville beamed with pride. After the session, as students filed out in small groups, Hermione approached Harry with a concerned expression. "Harry, I've been thinking," she began hesitantly. "We need a way to communicate meeting times without arousing suspicion." Harry nodded, understanding the risk. "Any ideas?" Hermione produced a basket full of fake galleons. "I've enchanted these coins. When you change the numbers on your master coin, all the others will heat up and change to match. It's a way for us to set meeting times without passing notes." "Brilliant, Hermione!" Harry exclaimed, examining one of the coins. "This is perfect." As they distributed the coins to DA members over the next few days, Harry felt a surge of pride. Despite Umbridge's best efforts, they were adapting, growing stronger. However, their success didn't go unnoticed. Umbridge seemed to be watching Harry more closely than ever, her toad-like eyes narrowing suspiciously whenever she saw him in the corridors. One afternoon, as Harry was heading to Charms class, he overheard a conversation that made him pause. "I'm telling you, Severus, those students are up to something." Umbridge's sickly sweet voice drifted from around the corner. "And Potter is at the center of it, I'm sure." "Perhaps," came Snape's cool reply. "But without evidence, there is little to be done." Harry's heart raced as he hurried past, pretending he hadn't heard. They needed to be more careful than ever. That night, in the Gryffindor common room, Harry shared what he'd overheard with Ron and Hermione. "We can't stop now," Ron said firmly. "We're learning more in DA than we ever have in defense against the dark arts." Hermione nodded in agreement. "We'll just have to be extra cautious. Maybe we should think about setting up some warning system." As they brainstormed ideas, Harry felt a mix of anxiety and determination. They were walking a dangerous line, but he knew in his heart that what they were doing was right. They were preparing themselves for whatever challenges lay ahead, and no amount of educational decrees could stop them. "Certainly, I'll continue the story." Chapter 19: The Lion and the Serpent. As December approached, bringing with it a blanket of snow over Hogwarts grounds, the DA meetings continued in secret. The room of requirement had become a sanctuary for the students, a place where they could learn and grow away from Umbridge's watchful eye. One evening, as they practiced the Patronus charm, Harry moved among the students, offering encouragement and advice. "That's it, Luna," he called out as a silvery hair burst from her wand, bounding around the room. Neville, his face scrunched in concentration, managed to produce a wisp of silver vapor. "I did it," he exclaimed, his round face beaming with pride. As the session came to an end, Harry felt a surge of satisfaction. They were making real progress. "Excellent work, everyone," he said, addressing the group. "We'll pick up here next time. Remember to keep your coins handy for the next meeting date." As the students filed out in small groups, Cho Chang lingered behind. Harry's heart skipped a beat as she approached him. "Harry," she said softly, "I just wanted to say thanks for teaching us, I mean. It's really helping." Harry felt his face grow warm. Oh, you're welcome. You're doing great, by the way. They stood in awkward silence for a moment before Cho smiled and turned to leave. As she reached the door, she looked back. "Happy Christmas, Harry," she said, and then she was gone. Harry stood there for a moment, a mixture of emotions swirling inside him. He was pulled from his thoughts by Ron and Hermione's return. "All right, mate?" Ron asked, noticing Harry's dazed expression. "Yeah," Harry replied, shaking himself. "Yeah, I'm fine." As they made their way back to Gryffindor Tower, discussing the success of the meeting, Harry's mind wandered. Despite the constant threat of discovery, despite Umbridge's oppressive regime, they were resisting. They were learning, growing stronger. But a nagging worry persisted. How long could they keep this up? And what would happen if they were caught? As if in answer to his unspoken question, they rounded a corner to find Professor McGonagall in deep conversation with Professor Flitwick. The teachers fell silent as the trio approached. "Potter," McGonagall said, her voice tight with an emotion. Harry couldn't quite place a word. "If you please." Harry exchanged a worried glance with Ron and Hermione before following Professor McGonagall to her office. As the door closed behind them, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change.